Hey there, Star Stitcher. I'm Kristen with ICStarsQuilting.com. Welcome back to my channel. Today I have a full tutorial for you on this quilt that I whipped up in one day. Super easy. It was amazing. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to give you the full tutorial. This is a beginner friendly project, okay? I don't have a pattern for it, but I am going to show you step by step how I made it. And it's totally something that you can create and create again and do something different with every time. And it's still going to turn out absolutely amazing. So let me show you what it is that I created. So here is the quilt top. I'm hoping I can get it on the long arm next week for some beautiful quilting on it. If you look really closely at it, and you check out the pattern, start looking for the grid. Some of the things that I normally do when I see a quilt that I really like is to start looking for where the block breaks are, okay? So if you look at this image right here, I'm going to show you there are two distinct blocks that repeat over and over and over in this quilt. So both of them are simple blocks, but when you break it down again, what do you see? It's nothing but half square triangles in different formations, which is so cool, right? It's so cool because you can create these gorgeous patterns that just use a simple block, right? A simple half square triangle block, which a lot of us quilters are really, really good at making because they're in a lot of patterns. But what I did for the fabric for this quilt that I made is I used a layer cake. Right? All the fabric was matched for me. I didn't have to dig through my sash. The only thing is I did add a border to it because I wanted to kind of contain all of the colors in this and I wanted to bring a little bit more vibrance to the quilt. So the border was separate from the layer cake, but I just used stuff from my stash for the border, and you could make it even more borders if you want to do a larger quilt. The finished size of the quilt using the layer cake without the border is this size right here. When I added the border, it came out to this size right here. So it's a pretty good throw size quilt, right? I loved how easy it is. So I am going to go through with you step by step today and show you how I got those half square triangles and how I transformed them into this quilt right here. I have everything here that I need to teach you how to make both of those blocks that are in this pattern, okay? So I have two pieces that are 10-inch squared. These are layer cakes. They're different from the ones that I already have in the other quilt. But what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to pair them up, okay? So I'm putting the right sides together, just like so, and I'm matching them up. If you want to stick a couple pins in them, you can. But for this part, really and truly, I'm just going to be drawing the lines that I'm going to be sewing on. You may have seen me use this before. This is a Quilter's Magic Wand, and it is a piece of acrylic that is 1/2 inch wide. It doesn't quite work on this project, but if you're working on smaller squares, this will work just fine, because what you're going to do is you're going to put it corner to corner and you're going to draw on either side. But since we can't do that because this is a little bit larger, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my ruler and I'm going to draw. I'm using a friction pin here, and these are erasable with heat. I have these all over my sewing room in every color imaginable, and the one that I usually use is whatever's closest. So I'm going to draw from corner to corner here, and I want to make sure that I can see it, okay? So there's one line, and then I'm going to draw from corner to corner here, making sure that I am hitting the corner, okay? Now, what you're going to do is you're going to take this to your sewing machine and you are going to sew a 1/4 inch outside of this line and a 1/4 inch on the other side of that line. You're going to do that for both pieces. I've sewn the lines right here. It's a little bit wrinkly, but I went ahead and I did put pins in it to make it easier to keep these nice and straight, because you do want these two pieces of fabric to stay together. So I'm going to set my pins aside, and the next thing that you're going to do is you are going to make a cut with your ruler straight down the middle here and straight across here. Okay, so I don't like to use the lines on my cutting mat because sometimes your cutting mat can warp without you really realizing it, just because of heat or leaving it in the sunlight too long or something like that, or perhaps you accidentally ironed on it. I like to use the lines on my actual ruler. So I know this is a 10-inch block. I'm going to go over to my 5-inch line right here, and just to make sure it does go through the crosshairs of my block here, and I'm going to make the cut here. Now this would be really, really handy if I had my rotating cutting mat out, but I forgot to do that. So if you have your rotating cutting mat, then you would gently turn your piece and then measure again. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to come at a different angle here, leave the camera where it's at, and I am going to not move anything, okay? And do that. Now, you can still do this if you keep everything straight. Now you're going to cut right on that line that we drew. Okay, so just straight up that line. If you're not good at keeping things still, you can still measure with this and then just use your scissors for this part if you'd like to, or you can cut them separately. But you can see I do these lines last because this is your seam allowance. That doesn't totally matter, okay? It doesn't really matter. Your seam allowance right here, you want these lines to be perfectly straight, but these can be a little wonky, okay? You have permission to be a little bit wonky in there. But I mean, don't cut it off too much, okay? So this is our 8 half square triangles at a time, all right? They all look like this. Exactly the same thing, just 8 of them. Now I'm going to take these over to my ironing station and I'm going to press them flat. I like to press my seams to the darker side and press them to the side. You can press them open if that's what you're more comfortable with. It does make things more difficult when you're joining like the centers, but it's up to you. So for this block, I'm telling you that I press mine to the side. So I'm going to press it to this teal side instead of this blue side. Here are my pieces, nicely pressed. I've got them all pressed to the teal side. Because I want these to be nice and square and lessen the bulk while I'm working with them, let me grab my shorter ruler here because this is kind of a bulky one. I want to go ahead and trim off these corners. Actually, it's so little you don't even really need the ruler to trim off those corners. Just make it nice and square and be careful that you're not cutting into your corners here, because this is what you should have when you're done. Nice square pieces. If you want to square up your pieces because they're not coming out perfectly straight, it may be because the fabric wasn't cut straight on, or wasn't cut on the grain, or is a little bit stretchy when you ironed it. Try to press and not actually iron when you're doing these pieces. So pressing just means that you're putting the iron down and then you're picking it up. You're not actually like moving it across your fabric, because that steam and that heat can cause your fabric to kind of just wiggle a little bit, and that's not really what you want for your overall piece. So I'm going to trim up these last few squares and then I'll show you what to do next. All right, that was the last one. Now you're going to take 4 squares, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you're going to set the other side aside for right now. So these 4, let me do a little bit more of my cutting mat here, are going to be my ones with the teal in the center. Okay, so this is option number 1. You could do this, or you could choose to have the diamond in the center with the teal on the outside. I think I kind of like that way. No, I like the teal in the center. So this is just going to be complete personal preference. You can decide if you want like a darker diamond in the middle, or you want a darker outside to it. With the other 4 pieces, come here, you are going to set up like this. You're going to decide which one is going to be your lower right. Okay, now I want my peaks to have this teal color, so I'm going to put the blocks together like this. Okay, now notice I'm not doing this because that's going to give me this right here. I'm taking this corner right here and making it my lower right, and there's my other block. Two 10-inch squares, two totally different blocks. Sew these together, work on all of your other 10-inch blocks in the same way, and you have an entire quilt. So now that you know how to make the 8 half square triangles at a time and create the blocks themselves, let's look at the layout for this quilt pattern again, okay? Here is the full quilt. Now, if you've been kind of like following along, you may have noticed there's a distinct pattern to this quilt, okay? I kind of did a checkerboard pattern with this. Now, when I laid it all out on my design wall, I didn't have a math strategy to it or anything. I just kind of made sure that the two colors from one block and the two colors from the other block weren't too close together. So if you really look at this, you can start to see, like, here is a block that has the same colors as this block right here. Okay, and here's another one and it has the same colors as this block right here. But I don't think the normal person would notice that. I think that's more of like a quilter thing, or me looking for, you know, patterns that are coming through a quilt pattern, right? That was a lot of the use of the word pattern, but do you understand what I mean? You understand what I mean? Like, you are looking for those connections for how this pattern was made. And I think when somebody looks at this quilt, probably the way that you did when you first saw it was, whoa, that's a lot of color. Triangles look hard, maybe cross your mind, but hopefully as you watched me create it and as you saw me make those easy blocks, you started to understand it's not as hard as it looks, right? It's not as hard as it looks. I hope that you enjoyed following me on this tutorial. Like I said, I'm hoping that I will get this on the long arm sometime next week. We'll see. By the way, I do have room on my long arm schedule if you need a quilt long armed before Christmas this year in 2025, okay? I will put the link down to the form where you can see all the information. I also have a price calculator on there because I know with long arming, some people are just like, I have no idea. It could be $1 million. It could be $6. I have no idea how much it costs. It's not $6, but my rates are really reasonable and my timeline is really quick right now as far as turnaround goes. So if you are looking for a long armer to help you with your quilting projects for the holiday season, please go check out my website. Go check out the designs that I have on the website that you can pick through and you can look through, and let me know if I can help you finish up those projects for the holiday season. I hope that you have a great day today. I love you. Sew something beautiful and have a wonderful rest of your week. I'm Kristen with ICStarsQuilting.com. I'll see you later. Bye.